Another racist incident at OU, Harvey Weinstein hospitalized after being found guilty, and Super Tuesday is just 1 week away. This is OU Nightly.
I will concede that she could have made the point without going out and saying the actual word itself, but I really don't appreciate how people are comparing this to the incident that happened a few weeks ago, because this was someone who was denouncing racism in an unfiltered way.
A student reaction a little different to the same type of racial incident on campus. Thanks for joining us for OU Nightly. I'm Madissen Lewis.
And I'm Dylan Rivera. Another OU professor uses what university leadership calls the, quote, most offensive word in the English language, end quote. It happened in Kathleen Brosnan's history class. Brosnan used the N-word while referencing a historical document while she was teaching. Brosnan has sent an email to the students in the class apologizing for the incident. She says her intent was not to do harm, but rather to convey the depth of racism that existed during the historical period. This incident comes less than 2 weeks after a Gaylord journalism professor used a racial slur during a capstone course.
And reaction on campus was swift. OU Nightly's Sam Brown attended a student-led press conference this morning. He joins us now with what students are saying. Sam?
Well, Madissen and Dylan, OU's Black Emergency Response Team addressed the issue to students, faculty, and media this morning, and the tone was clear. It was one of frustration.
We are tired of the meetings. We are tired of the town halls. We are tired of promises with no action. We're simply tired of not being treated as human beings on this campus.
Co-director Miles Francisco didn't mince any words during Bert's press conference this morning after history professor Kathleen Brosnan repeatedly used the N-word while reading from a historical document in class Monday.
We understand that many feel our hurt and our pain, but yet not everyone has the experience, the traumatizing experience of being black on this campus, of having a marginalized identity on this campus.
President Harris released a statement that afternoon condemning the incident and explaining the administration's next steps of action, feelings that were shared by Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion, Belinda Higgs-Hippolyte.
The president loves this university and wants to make sure that everyone who is a part of this institution is successful, because student success is our #1 mission.
On the other hand, Francisco expressed a need for accountability from all members of the OU community.
We know that a simple training isn't going to dismantle white supremacy.
And had a simple message for black and other marginalized groups on campus.
Stay together, stay strong. We'll continue working with upper administration to do what we can to play our part in bringing some real change on this campus.
Now, Francisco also said this morning that Bert has not yet met with President Harris since the statement was released yesterday. And even if the administration extends the offer, the team will have to decide whether or not to take it up. Now our team coverage continues with OU Nightly's Tevis HIllis. She's live outside Nielsen Hall. Tevis, what do university leaders plan to do now?
What's next? Frankly, ask any OU student. They're tired of these controversies.
So disheartening, especially as a student of color, for this to continue to happen after having so many conversations after it happened 13 days ago. But at the same time, I felt very hopeful because immediately after I found out, I started texting people, making the right phone calls, making sure I was checking in with students, faculty, administrators, and just the overwhelming sense of urgency that everybody had as well really made me hopeful that change is actually going to be enacted.
Now, we just heard from the SGA president, so we're going to toss it back to you all.
Thank you, Tevis. The reaction is not just coming from campus here in Norman.
The OU SGA president is in Washington, D.C. attending a national conference, and it was a chilly start to the day, but temperatures are climbing.
Yes, they are. Is this a sign of spring weather still to come? Taylor Stephenson joins us live with a look at the weather. Taylor.
I'm standing out here on the 3rd floor balcony of Gaylord Hall. Winds have started to pick up here in Norman, and that's all due to a cold front that we're seeing move through the state as I speak right now. Currently, we're sitting in the 40s and 50s in the eastern and central parts of the state, but out there in the panhandle and the western part, they're starting to get below freezing. If you see that white line on the screen in the map, that is the freezing line. Everything to the left side of that freezing line is going to be below freezing. Everything to the right side is going to be above freezing. So we could see some temperature drops into tonight. But with this cold front, we do have those winds picking up as well. Currently we're sitting at 10 to 15 miles per hour here in Norman. But out in the western part of the state, again, they're just getting hammered with those winds. 30 plus miles per hour there in the panhandle and the western part of the state, and that is why they're under a wind advisory right now. But coming up in a few minutes, Jack Maney is in the studio, and he has more about the chance for some light snow mix or rain precipitation tonight, some colder wind chills tomorrow morning due to those high winds we could see tonight and early tomorrow morning. And stick with us because we promise there will be a warm up and a beautiful weekend ahead. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Taylor. And not only is the coronavirus impacting people's health, but it's also taking a toll on the U.S. stock market. Addie Crawford has the story. Addie?
Thanks, Madissen. The stock market slid and bond prices increased for the second day in a row over fears of a worldwide coronavirus outbreak. Yesterday was the worst day for the U.S. stock market since February of 2018. The Dow and the S&P are down by more than 3%, and NASDAQ is also falling. This turnaround has been quick. S&P was at a record high last Wednesday. As the coronavirus continues to spread, stocks are expected to stay down. American officials warn it is only a matter of time before the infection reaches the U.S. And convicted rapist Harvey Weinstein is in a Manhattan hospital after his guilty verdict yesterday. He was transported by ambulance due to heart palpitations and high blood pressure. His use of a walker throughout the trial raised speculation of faking an injury to gain sympathy. Weinstein is reportedly okay but has serious medical issues. His lawyers say that he is strong and will continue to fight. There is no word on when Weinstein will be taken to Rikers Island Jail to await his sentencing in March. And a Florida woman crashed her car into the Boca Raton Canal. She has no recollection of the accident. Thankfully, she was pulled out by nearby witnesses.
Thank you, Addie. Plus, Super Tuesday is just around the corner and deadlines are quickly approaching. More on what's happening in politics when we return.
The results are in. Find out which presidential candidates are leading the pack in the latest Sooner poll when we return.
Welcome back to OU Nightly. We want to go back to Tevis HIllis now. She's live outside Nielsen Hall where a professor used a racial slur while leading a history class.
Tevis, what are students saying out there?
Guys, I'm right outside Nielsen Hall where this incident happened yesterday. I talked to one student and he said he's tired of these controversies. Michael Washington, a student catching his breath.
I don't have words for it.
Washington is taking time to process. Not only this event, but also the incident 2 weeks ago.
We had conversations about what we were going to do next. This week, we're having conversations about it happening again.
But what's next? The Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion, Belinda Hippolyte, feels and hears the issues students are bringing up.
This was that they felt like faculty had stopped learning.
What she wants to see is simple.
Create opportunities for faculty, staff, and students to continue learning individually and together.
While education is the focus of what to do next, the rest is unknown.
So I think it will be a multi-tiered approach. We want to make sure that it's ongoing and that it is sustainable, and that will happen on a year-to-year basis. And then as people realize that there are instances happening within their particular areas of campus, that they can come in for consultation and additional training as needed.
And she wants everyone to fight this fight together.
Take all of us to really change the climate of this campus.
So as Michael Washington and the rest of the campus take a breath, It is time to continue learning. Now, next week, there will be a team on campus working on the freshman diversity experience. They're going to provide OU with new ideas and opportunities. Outside Nielsen Hall, Tevis, HIllis, OU Nightly.
Thank you, Tevis. We now have just 7 days until Oklahomans head to the polls for Super Tuesday, and Oklahoma voters are getting behind Biden and Bloomberg. That's according to a new Sooner poll. Nightly's Austin Hernandez spoke with one of the organizers of the poll to break down the current lead.
The numbers are in.
Our poll has Joe Biden leading at 21, which is just a very small lead with Mike Bloomberg at 20.
Former Vice President Joe Biden is leading the field in Oklahoma with a slim lead over Michael Bloomberg. The rest of the pack trails. After winning the state in 2016, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders checks in at third, polling just under 13%. Former Mayor Pete Buttigieg is in at fourth at 10.1%. Oklahoma native Elizabeth Warren places fifth, polling at nearly 9%. Senator Klobuchar is polling at 6.5%, placing sixth. No other candidate places at 1%. Sooner Poll's Bill Shepard says a big chunk is still trying to make up their mind.
19% is still undecided among all Democrats.
41% of Oklahoma's Democratic electorate identify as moderate, nearly 38% identify as liberal, and 21% as conservative. When Election Day rolls around, Shepard says not to be surprised if there is a change when Oklahoma goes to cast their ballots.
42% of the Democrats that we talked to said that they probably will or might change their mind between now and March the 3rd.
Some candidates are making last-minute swings for the Sooner State ahead of Election Day. Michael Bloomberg is coming in on Thursday, the same day early voting starts, and Mayor Pete Buttigieg is coming in on Monday, one day before Super Tuesday. Austin Hernandez, OU Nightly.
Stay with OU Nightly for full coverage of all events leading up to Super Tuesday.
South Carolina's primary election is this Saturday, but Oklahoma is not far behind. OU Nightly's politics reporter Taitum Wilson has details on some election deadlines coming up before Super Tuesday.
Yep, we're just about 1 week away from Super Tuesday, and the deadline for Oklahomans to file an absentee ballot is tomorrow at 5 p.m. Early voting is February 27th through the 29th. Polls are open Thursday and Friday from 8 to 6 and Saturday from 9 to 2. If you're an OU student but a Texas voter, the deadline to request a mail-in ballot has passed, but you can still head down for early voting through this Friday. As that Super Tuesday election approaches, presidential candidates are making their way to Oklahoma. Senator Amy Klobuchar was in Oklahoma City Sunday, where she spoke about unity and endorsed the re-election of the lone Democratic U.S. Representative in Oklahoma, Kendra Horn.
I want to win big, and I want to win people over and bring people with us, and I want to make sure that Kendra Horn gets re-elected.
Klobuchar also addressed expanding access to education and health care, criticizing Medicare for All. And as mentioned earlier, Pete Buttigieg is planning a stop in OKC on Monday, the day before the primary, and Mike Bloomberg will be back in Oklahoma this Thursday. Locations for both of those events are still to be determined. The Democratic presidential primary will be the star of the show on next week's ballot, but that day, Norman voters will also weigh in on another liquor law. Cleveland, Oklahoma, and Tulsa counties are among the 7 that will vote on whether liquor stores can stay open on Sundays. This vote comes more than 3 years after Oklahomans voted to allow the sale of strong beer and wine in grocery stores. And a final reminder, the election is 1 week from today, Super Tuesday, March 3rd. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Taitum. Now we're going to go ahead and pass it on to Jack Maney. Jack, how's it looking out there?
It's looking like it's going to be pretty chilly tonight. There's a little bit of a chance of maybe a little bit of winter mix coming up tonight. We'll have a whole lot of details about that coming up after the break. Welcome back to OU Nightly. Looking outside at downtown Oklahoma City, you can see some clouds starting to build in, and that's associated with our next weather system that's going to be coming in tonight. Right now, it's 47 degrees, mostly cloudy skies, and dew points of 26 degrees. It's very much a winter day outside. Right now, current temperatures you can see out there, especially out in the Panhandle and Woodward, you can see the freezing line starting to advance this way. That's going to keep pushing in towards us overnight. We're going to probably get really close to freezing here tonight, and that's really interesting because we've got this big mass of rain and snow coming out of Kansas. That's going to continue pushing south, and it will arrive here overnight tonight. Looking at future radar, you can see that big area of snow and rain starts to move this way, and by about 1 a.m. it will be right on top of us. But temperatures will be really close to freezing, so we very well could see just a few snowflakes mixed in with this. It's not going to be any kind of a major event. We're going to be seeing just a few snowflakes mixed in with some rain, and then it'll all be gone by sunrise. Nothing to worry about. Absolutely, we're going to have class tomorrow, so you guys, sorry to burst your bubble there. So going forward, those clouds will move out by tomorrow, and then they'll leave us with really, really cold temperatures in the morning. Wind chills will be down into the teens, so you want to make sure you dress for that in the morning. And then we're going to be dealing with a pretty cold day tomorrow, 42 degrees here in Norman, with a few spots just maybe trying to crack 50, but it's going to be pretty cold tomorrow. But that's not going to be the story going forward. After tomorrow, we start warming up. By Friday, we're into the mid to upper 50s. And by Saturday and Sunday, we're going to be looking at 60s all across the state. Might even take a run at 70 by Sunday and into Monday. So once we get this last cold day out of the way, 42 degrees tomorrow, we will be looking at 50s and then 60s, just an absolutely gorgeous weekend. If you want to be outside at all, this will be the weekend to do it, because it's going to be nice, not too windy, not too bad, and very warm.
All right, well, thank you, Jack.
And don't go anywhere. OU Nightly Sports is next.
Welcome back to OU Nightly. I'm Caroline Grace. Let's jump into the sports world. The Sooners head to OKC tonight for a huge game against Texas Tech. After the loss in Stillwater this past weekend, they are still on the radar for March Madness, but need a consistent close to the season. Coach Kruger and senior Christian Doolittle had this to say after last night's walkthrough in Chesapeake Arena.
Even with the poor performance the other day, we're still in a position that we control our own destiny. So it really just depends on how we come out and play tomorrow in our last few games.
Even though you're focused on one game, you still realize that you're running out of games. So we've got to win more games, like a lot of teams at this point in the season. If you're going to qualify for postseason, a lot of teams are in that point that we are right now, where you've got to win some more and can't stop and think you're okay. That's for sure.
OU baseball this year is sure to want to take anyone out to the ball game. Some players have gotten a really hot start. Junior outfielder Tanner Treadaway is hitting .500 with a slugging percentage of over 1,000. After this weekend, he was named the Big 12 Player of the Week. And speaking of take me out to the ball game, more like take him out of the ball game. Jose Altuve's debut did not go as his childhood self envisioned. Altuve was first booed by the crowd, then hit by a pitch. In a post-game interview, Altuve among his teammates claimed they did not hear anything from the crowd. Probably a lie, but we move on. And now back to making history. Yesterday was a very memorable day for Oregon women's basketball player Sabrina Ionescu. Ionescu, friend of Gianna and Kobe Bryant, started her morning by giving a speech at their celebration of life, leaving not one dry eye in the building. Later, with Mamba mentality, suited up against Stanford and became the first D1 basketball player ever to reach 2,000 points, 1,000 assists, and 1,000 rebounds. And how about this for a pre-game ritual? Poor G-Wiz is so outnumbered and taken down by the Bucks. And here comes the MVP. Boom, he is down. Beating teams on the floor has become too easy for the Milwaukee Bucks, and now they've decided to go for the mascots too. The Milwaukee Bucks go total WWE before every game, so the Raptors better be ready. All right. I am inspired. Dylan, Madissen, what do you say we do that after the show?
Yeah, maybe so. I'm a big fan of NBA and WWE, so I'm a fan of both. So thank you, Caroline. While today is Fat Tuesday, parts of the Midwest have a different way of celebrating.
Stay with us to find out more about this European tradition. Welcome back to OU Nightly. I'm Shannon Ehrhardt with your update for today. CEO Bob Iger of Disney just stepped down from the position, handing the reins to Bob Chapek. He says his choice to step down earlier than expected is to allow more focus on the creative side of major projects like Disney+. That's all for now. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Shannon. Not only is today Fat Tuesday, but people in parts of the Midwest are also celebrating Paczki Day.
A pączek is a traditional Polish pastry filled with fruit or custard and covered in sugar. These delicious desserts are eaten on Fat Tuesday before the start of Lent, which is the 6-week period prior to Easter.
This European tradition dates all the way back to the Middle Ages and began as a way to use all the ingredients in a pantry before Lent fasting began. So Jack, we know it's getting warmer out there. Is it going to stay that way?
Yep, after we get done with our one cold day tomorrow, it's looking like we're definitely going to see a big warm up going into this weekend, 66, 67 on Sunday. Make sure you get outside if you at all can. It's going to be pretty nice outside.
Thank you so much, Jack. That's all we have for this Tuesday night edition of OU Nightly, brought to you by the Gaylord College of Journalism and Mass Communication.
We'll see you back here tomorrow night, live at 4:30.
From all of us in front of and behind the camera, have a great evening.
Good night.